Et salut tout le monde, aujourd'hui nouvelle vidéo sur The Stanley Parable. Voilà, j'ai craqué, j'ai acheté sur Steam. Ah, c'est génial. L'ordi Inception. Regardez en bas à la droite de l'écran. Vous avez mon indicateur frappe, c'est tout dans l'écran, c'est génial. Bref, voilà, donc j'ai craqué, il était en solde sur Steam, hein, les soldes d'été forcément, donc ça a commencé. Je pense que cet été je vais aussi craquer pour Limbo si jamais il tombe en solde. Parce que j'ai jamais joué et ça fait un bout de temps que j'ai envie de le commencer. Alors je vais commencer juste de suite, je vais diminuer un peu l'audio parce que sous-titres, hein. Audio. J'espère vraiment par contre. Là c'est en français. Je sais pas si le jeu est en anglais ou en français. J'espère qu'il va l'être parce que la voix anglaise est vraiment géniale. On va voir. On va voir, on va voir. Bon, et ben écoutez, en avant. Si jamais par hasard vous entendez des bruits par-dessus ma voix, j'essaierai de les virer. Mais si je le fais pas, parce que si j'oublie, je la flemme, ou que j'y arrive pas, sachez que en fait c'est une de mes colocs qui s'en va demain, donc forcément elle est en train de nettoyer toute sa chambre. Donc il est possible d'entendre des bruits d'aspirateur, de personnes qui montent et qui descendent les escaliers. Voilà. J'essaie de virer les bruits, mais le problème c'est que si jamais je trouve que c'est trop fort, bah, je le ferai pas. Parce que j'ai pas envie que ça casse trop le son de ma voix. Voilà. Donc on verra. Les chargements sont longs. Peut-être parce que c'est la première fois que je lance ce jeu aussi. Si vous voulez faire pipi, c'est le moment. Je pense qu'il y en a encore pour un bout de temps. Ah,
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month, of every
quel taf
year.
de merde.
And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Bébé.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ah, d'accord. Va falloir faire un truc rapidement. Changer les touches. Ok. Ah, c'est mieux. Non, toujours pas. J'aime beaucoup le menu, très marrant avec les bruits de clavier.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Les graphismes me font penser à ceux de Left 4 Dead ou de Portal. En même temps, c'est pas un jeu de Valve? Je sais même plus. Inculte, c'est grave, je vais me faire taper. Pour avoir dit un truc pareil, je sais plus.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Bah allez, on va à droite.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
C'est vrai qu'elle est incroyable cette salle.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
On peut pas revenir en arrière en fait. On est obligé de suivre un chemin particulier dès qu'on l'a commencé. Ah ouais, quand même. Ça fait cher. Tant pis.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy.
Ouh, je peux tomber.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Quelle mort de merde. Merde, j'ai pas du tout regardé quand est-ce que j'ai commencé la vidéo. Encore une fois, je le fais tout le temps, c'est dingue. Bon allez, on va dire qu'il reste 10 minutes, j'ai lutté pour la lancer. Oh, D'accord. Donc il n'existe pas de mur invisible. C'est bon à savoir.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it
Allez, on
mean?
relance. On va retourner au même endroit qu'on était et puis cette fois-ci on va pas se jeter dans le vide comme un idiot.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his
Nope.
left.
Allez.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Mais on ne bouge pas cette fois-ci.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Qui est elle?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Je suis sûr que c'est pas une fille, c'est un truc à la con. Wow.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh,
Quel salaud.
did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Quel connard. C'est quoi cette voix de merde? Oh, le salaud.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named
Pardon.
Stanley.
Bah non, non, je veux pas mourir, je tiens à rester en vie, moi. Oh. Non. Non. Non mais non.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
Ah, ils vont me ramener dans le
He's
cul.
pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own
Abominable.
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
Ça va, je suis enfermé dans
Down
mon
one
taf, quoi.
path lay an enormous round
Quelle merde.
room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Ça nous fait deux histoires si j'attends assez longtemps. Ok, wow, de merde.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I...
Oh, c'est le salaud. Quel salaud. Ah, bien. C'est une merde, hein. Mon Dieu. Bon, eh bien écoutez, on va s'arrêter ici pour la première vidéo. Et puis voilà, et puis je vais continuer ensuite. Ben, je vous souhaite une bonne journée, soirée, comme d'habitude, Black anniversaire. Bonne soirée à tous. Salut!